this video, we will address the topic of trans fats. Trans fats are generated from partially hydrogenated oils, or PHOs. We know that saturated fats are solid at room temperature, which doesn't make for a very good spreadable product. But unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. Who wants to spread an oil consistency on bread? So manufacturers discovered that they could take polyunsaturated fats like corn oil and partially hydrogenate it. Polyunsaturated fats have multiple points of unsaturation, and they found that if they added hydrogen to some, but not all, of the points of unsaturation, it would create a consistency somewhere between oil and hard butter. In the process, it makes the oil a little more saturated, but not fully saturated, so it would still be so-called healthier than butter. Unfortunately, what they found was that the points of unsaturation that were left changed their structure. You can see in the picture here that the hydrogens are on the same side. We call this configuration cis. With partial hydrogenation, the hydrogens flip to the opposite sides. We call this a trans configuration, or what we refer to as trans fats. Early on, everyone thought this was a healthier version, but around the 1990s, we started realizing the negative effects from trans fat. It turns out that they increase heart disease and cancer way more than any other type of fat. The first step was to require manufacturers to put trans fats on the label so people could make informative decisions. The products with the most trans fats were processed products that were the most solid at room temperature. The more solid they were, the more partial hydrogenation had occurred, and the more trans fats were in the food. This label from stick margarine, after they required nutrition fact label, you can see the trans fat listed on the left and the partially hydrogenated vegetable oil on the ingredients list. Unfortunately, it took a lot to educate the public about trans fat. But as consumers became more aware, manufacturers had to get sneaky. So they used less of the PHOs, and as long as it was 0.5 grams or less, they could identify it as having 0 grams trans fat on the label. The problem is that no amount of trans fats are okay. In the early 2000s, the American Heart Association came out and said more than 1 gram was unsafe. So just 2 servings of a product that had 0.5 grams could reach that dangerous level. But the public was clueless because if it had 0.5 grams, it showed as 0 on the nutrition facts. So finally, in 2015, the government issued a ban on partially hydrogenated oils. As always occurs in the food industry, the mandate takes a long time to be fully executed. However, as of January 1st, 2021, no partially hydrogenated oils are allowed at all. So what does this mean for products like stick margarine and shortening that were the worst offenders? They reconfigured their recipes to use various blends of naturally unsaturated and saturated oils to create the same consistency they had with the PHOs. The 3 oils that are saturated include palm, palm kernel, and coconut. You can see on this new stick margarine that they use soybean oil, which is unsaturated, with palm and palm kernel oil, which are both saturated. The result on the nutrition facts is 0 grams trans fat and 2.5 grams saturated. For shortening, you can choose either the canister or the sticks. They have the same nutrition facts and ingredient list. Note they mention fully hydrogenated palm oil. I suspect that's because they received such a bad rep with their partially hydrogenated oils that they had to say it was fully hydrogenated. The result is 3.5 grams of saturated fat, which leads me to believe they used more palm oil in their blend compared to the stick margarine because it has more saturated fat. Now let's look at tub margarine. Since it is in a container, it does not need to maintain a shape like stick margarine. Once again, they used a vegetable oil blend. However, they only have 1.5 grams saturated fat, which tells me that they use less palm oil than shortening or the margarine stick because it has less saturated fat. Now compare that to butter, which only uses the fat from cream. We see quite a bit more saturated fat. Now that PHOs are no longer allowed, we are left with judging the health based on the saturated fat. When we compare the nutrition information side by side, we see that butter has the most saturated fat and tub margarine the least. You may also notice there is cholesterol in butter compared to the other products. After reading the material for this section, you should be able to figure out why that is. Only animal sources have cholesterol. Butter is made from cow's milk, whereas the shortening and margarines are blends of vegetable oil. The other thing you may notice is the difference in the total fat and calories. This is because the margarines use substantial amounts of water. The margarine ingredients on the left show that water is the second ingredient after the vegetable oil blend. Note that because water and oil don't blend well, margarines require an emulsifier. Some type of lecithin is used as the emulsifier, with soy lecithin being the most common. The biggest negative that most people cite as why they don't like margarine is the long list of ingredients. While they all have long, scary names that are hard to pronounce, these ingredients allow the product to stay fresh longer and give it the unique flavor and color. You can taste the difference in various brands of margarines based on those extra ingredients. One final note that you will see with margarines is the addition of plant sterols or stanols. These are the plant version of cholesterol, but unlike cholesterol, they are healthy for you. As far as healthy choices in this class, we will refer to the amount of saturated fat. In this case, tub margarine is the healthiest choice. However, we completely understand those who prefer to choose foods with fewer ingredients in a product. If that is your personal choice to consume butter, please be mindful of the total amount of saturated fat you are consuming from other foods. We would also remind you not to let your personal opinions get in the way of how you recommend healthy substitutions to patients. As always, we should be respectful of individuals' personal choices, but educate on the science that we have available to promote health.